So this episode was originally uploaded November 4th, 2024, kind of quite some time ago. Don't forget to like, comment nice things, and subscribe. See you later, bye.
It's Lucky's really long list of movies. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Lucky's really long list of movies, where I, your host, Lucky Damn Day, I make some time and I sit down and tackle my really long list of movies. And I break this list into categories, and each month we take on a new category. God, we have so much fun. So last month's category was Halloween. I know, super creative. How did I ever come up with it? But we had fun, didn't we? We saw Gremlins, Rosemary's Baby, that wasn't fun, but wow, that was infuriating. Candyman and Halloween. And now it's time for me to pick a favorite. And that favorite is Candyman! Yeah, Candyman. Candyman had it all. It was a slasher, it had lore, the fan base is really cool, and it's pretty America specific, and I think it's going to be pretty historical as well. And there is more than one Candyman to dig into. They sit with you forever and you think about them forever, and I still cannot stop thinking about Candyman. I cannot believe Candyman was only recommended to me by one person. How is I should have been hearing about Candyman since I was young. Yeah, I should have been hearing about this movie my whole life, and nope, not the case. But not anymore. I love Candyman, and I'm gonna be talking about Candyman, and I'm gonna be asking people, have you seen Candyman? Man, we love Candyman, so. Woo! Candyman! I'll remember you forever. And guess what? It's a brand new month, so we have a brand new category. And this month's category is the wildest one yet. This month, the category is wild animals. Oh yeah, baby. I'm gonna be watching movies with animals, about animals, starring animals, made by animals. I just want to make clear, the side of the animal kingdom that we're going to be venturing into. I know in the movie universe, animal movies can be commercial blockbusters with talking animals who have 9-to-5 jobs. Then some animal movies will leave you in a mess of tears and ruin you for life. My darlings, all of the movies this month are actually really bloody. I think we got one cute one, but all the other movies are pretty bloody and gory and intense. So, woohoo! Yeah. And guess what? No animals were harmed in the making of any of this month's category. That did not roll off the tongue very well. No animals were hurt in the making of these movies. And actually, I kind of sounded like a lamb when I said that. Did I sound like a sheep? Hey, future me at editing this episode, can we actually hear that back one more time? I just need to hear if I sounded like a goat. Actually, yep, I sure did. Only one movie in our wild animal category for this month actually has real animals in it. Only one movie has real animals in it. And no animals were harmed in that movie. But around 70 cast and crew members were. That brings me to today's movie. Today, we will be talking about one of the most dangerous movies ever made. Roar. From 1981. That's right, babies. We're starting off the month with Big Cat Cinema. Yeah. So, Roar from 1981. This movie is on my list because, of course, the internet told me about it. And I added it right onto my list. But Roar is the movie that made me make this entire category. And to be honest, I'm glad I made this category. I have a really big background with working with animals. I don't know if you knew that. You probably knew that. Who cares? But It's relevant this month for me to talk about it. And of course, I love animals, but the type of humans that animals attract are very weird and complex. And you know what I mean. If you work in the animal service field, you know exactly what I mean. The employees are weird, the clients are weird, your friends are weird, you're weird. Everyone's just so weird, me included. And if you listen to today's episode, which I really hope you will, stay around, please. So if you listen to today's episode, you'll actually get 2 good examples of the type of weird people that you can run into when working with animals. So when it comes to the animal industry, or the animal field, I should say, I say that the animal field usually attracts certain types of people. Like you have people who want to give unconditional love, and so they get an animal and they give the unconditional love. And then you have people who need unconditional love. But there is a third type that I have forgotten about. We have a third type. So we have the guy who uses powerful animals as a personality and acts like an expert even though his pet is literally attacking everyone and thinks he can solve the animal's behavior by being like super loud and aggressive and abrupt, He just goes, stop, no! Like, I know it sounds like I'm talking about one specific guy, but no, this is a thing. If you're that guy and you're listening, I just want to let you know, you look kind of silly when you do that and you look kind of stupid. So if you could just relax and maybe look into what it takes to raise an animal. Thank you. Anyway, so aggressive, super loud and abrupt. Wow. That sounds, a lot like the writer, director, and the star of Roar, Noel the Troll Marshall. He does not go by Noel the Troll. I made that up. And we'll talk about Noel the Troll in a second. So let's go ahead and start with my first take of watching the most dangerous movie ever made, Roar. So let's gather into the time machine, shall we, everyone? Make sure that you tuck in your tails. And let's blast into the past to hear the little recording I made after I watched this movie for the first time. Okay, so, hi, this is Past Lucky. I have just finished watching Roar. That was fucking insane. Sorry, I'm just still in shock. That was so fucking stressful. It was so stressful. My neck hurts from being so tense. My face hurts from being so tense. I can tell, my gums are tingling because I think I was clenching my jaw so hard it put a lot of pressure on my gums. I had no idea what the fucking movie was about. I think that husband should have been divorced. He should have been beaten the fuck up. He was beaten up. He was literally bleeding the entire time. Much like one of the lions. There was also this really mean lion that was covered in blood all the time. And he ate people. Oh my god. Holy shit. So when the lions are eating a dead animal outside of the house, and then they just tear the animal apart, and then they come storming inside of the house, and each lion has a different body part from a different animal. This one lion was just playing hacky sack with a boar's head. That head was twisted off the body. It was insanely gory. That was crazy. Whew. I just need a second. I should have known it was really fucking crazy from the moment I started searching for this movie. I couldn't find it anywhere. But lo and behold, it was on the deep, dark corners of YouTube. It was for free, and I didn't watch a single ad. Why? This movie's fucked up. God, I don't even know what the movie was about. Was the movie literally about this guy's family coming to live with him? The movie was an hour and a half. Literally the entire movie was just people getting attacked by wild animals. And they were even bragging about being wild animals. The beginning of the movie, they're hey, we decided to work with untrained animals. And since they were being themselves, we decided to give them a little bit of a writer's credit. I was like, oh, that's cute. But then I watch it and I'm just like, oh man, this is the scariest shit I've ever seen. I swear to God, if you switch up the music, it could be a horror movie. Also, the really long song at the end of it, the credits were crazy. All the music in it was crazy. Not all the music, but the guy singing all the time. Yeah, I'm very excited to understand what the hell that was. All right, I will see you on the other side of this. Bye. Okay, did you enjoy that first take? I honestly had way more energy during that first take than I remembered. And honestly, I don't know what movie stressed me out more, Roar or the Titanic. No, Titanic. Titanic for sure. If Roar was about 2 hours longer, I don't think I could have made it. I don't think my heart or my stomach could take it. Oh, thank God Roar was only an hour and a half. God, enough about hours. Let's focus on minutes. Yeah, baby, the 1 minute recap. Okay, let's see if I can recap the plot of Roar in under a minute or less. Here we go. Okay, and we're gonna start the timer now. So there is this man that lives in Africa, and he also acts like Donnie from the Wild Thornberrys. Well, he lives with lions and a bunch of other wild animals, and his family comes to visit. The animals attack, and then there is one lion who is always covered in blood, and then the animals just stop hurting everybody and ruining everything, and then there's a 70s soft rock song about wildlife preservation. And time! Wow, that only took me about 35 seconds. Yeah, okay, so obviously that is not the technical plot, but that is what we saw in the movie. I didn't know this movie had a plot or a script. It has a script, but I don't even know if they used it, honestly. Okay, so the movie's actually about this family that goes out to their dad who's doing some science work in Africa, right? And then everything goes haywire, but then everything settles down and the family ends up staying there for about 2 more weeks. And ta-da! You have the plot to Roar. Amazing. So let's talk about this damn movie, huh? Okay. I'm so intimidated by this movie in regards to covering it because there is just so much. There's so much lore. There's so much shit behind this movie. Woo! God, who should I talk about first? Tippi Hedren or Noel the Troll Marshall? Fuck you, Noel. We're gonna treat ourselves and go with Tippi Hedren first. So Tippi Hedren, she played the mother in this movie, and she is married to the director and writer of this movie, Noel Marshall. So Noel and Tippi were real-life husband and wife. So Tippi is out on a film shoot in Africa, right? And Noel is with her. And the couple is overcome with cinematic inspiration when they see a game warden's house that was abandoned out in Africa that was overrun by lions. No humans were there at all. Just lions in a house. And Tippi and Noel, they were like, we gotta make a movie out of this. And then boom, we have Roar. And that's the episode, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Just kidding. No, I'm a little jokester today. But no, of course, that is not the end of our story for today, but only the beginning. But for Tippi Hedren, this is but yet another survivor story for her. And also, the start to a whole new life. So, some people know Tippi Hedren by name. Not me. Not me. I didn't know. So when I looked into her and saw that she was the iconic blonde lady from Birds, I was like, Tippi, oh my God, how did you get to be on this disaster movie? How did you get into this? Fire your agent, right? Well, she actually had a big old part in making it, right? Because I just told you that her and Noel were looking at lions and houses and stuff. But anyway, I know. What? Why did she do this, So yes, Tippi Hedren is a famous Hollywood actress known for her roles in Hitchcock movies like Birds and Marnie. Well, as you know, here on this podcast, we have learned to watch our backs when it comes to idolized, powerful, rich men, especially white men in Hollywood. Okay? So, who am I talking about right now? I'm talking about Hitchcock. And Hitchcock had a lot of skeletons in his closet, and he was determined to make Tippi Hedren one of them. I will get back to Roar in a second, but I did just find out about this during my Roar Tippi Hedren experience, and I gotta share it with you because it's super weird. Y'all, I will keep this true crime story short. So basically, Alfred Hitchcock tried to control Tippi while she was under contract with him. Like, control her. Like, control her like a doll. I've seen dogs with more freedom than she had. Like, he wanted to control, like, what she wears, who she talks to, who can talk to her, even how her name should be typed in papers. Like, he wanted her name to be like, quote, Tippi, end quote, Hedren. Ugh, annoying. And then, of course, that slob stack in a suit, Hitchcock, he made physical advances on Tippi that were not consensual, and he even told Tippi that she needed to be sexually ready and available for him whenever and wherever he wanted. So he wanted her as a doll, like a sex doll that could act and talk. Eat? No. Absolutely. Eat? Oh, only if Hitchcock said so. I'm serious. Even controlled her food and tried to control what she wore on her own time. Weird. Ooh, and another creepy thing. Hitchcock went up to Hedren on set and was like, I had a dream about you. You said that you really were in love with me. And Tippi, literally, with that life or death, don't overreact, don't underreact, or else this man will kill you kind of cadence that we all learn as women, she says, but it was a dream, just a dream, and had to quickly leave the area. That's creepy. That's creepy as hell. That is creepy as hell. If you have never had a man prey on you, you don't know what I'm talking about. But if you have had a man prey on you and be predatory and weird, you know exactly what I'm talking about and how creepy it is that Hitchcock said that. He was basically admitting to her, he was basically saying like, I found a new way to control what you say to me, and I will apply it to my waking reality. It's like, oh no, I have been there, darlings. I've been with that kind of delusional. And that kind of delusional will get your ass in the obituaries. Get out of there. And he's rich and powerful. No. So there are documentaries on this and bio movies on this as well. Look it up. Like even like just like go on YouTube and just like type in like Tippi Hedren Hitchcock sexual assault allegations. You will find it. And Tippi, she is a tough gal, and she stood up to Hitchcock, and she got out of that weird 7-year contract on year 3 with him. And in turn, Hitchcock ruined her career on purpose. He said that he was going to ruin her career if she got out of the contract, and she said, I don't give a fuck. You're fucking weird. Get me out of here. And in turn, he ruined her career. So since he was so influential and famous and rich, and, people would go talk to Hitchcock, about hiring Tippi. And basically, Hitchcock said that Tippi had left the acting business to focus on modeling. She started out as a model, but she was very much into acting. And she's also a very good actor. And whatever Hitchcock was like spreading about Tippi, it wasn't even the like, oh, she's like impossible to work with. It was more like she's not even working. So that actually was very successful in turning away countless directors, like on a global scale. People from around the world wanted Tippi, and Hitchcock got in the way and said, no, she's not available. Yeah, people wanted her, and Humpty Dumpty Hitchcock had other diabolical plans. Disgusting little fuck. The crimes against women in this industry alone are not only countless, but just like really fucking bizarre and out of control and super gross and inhumane. This is weird. Okay, sorry, just had to, oh God. And like, I know, And Tippy risked getting blacklisted and ruining her career. She sure did. She had to step up for herself and take care of her. Like, she was going to get attacked. She was going to get attacked by this man. And also on the set of Birds, he lied to her saying that they were going to have like fake birds, trained birds or whatever, when really they were literally pelting her with birds and she almost lost an eye. Just saying. So she did get physically hurt. Anyway, but you know, Tippy says it herself. She says that Hitchcock ruined her career, but not her life. Ooh, give me some of that, Tippy. I need some of that glass half full so I can have something to throw in your face kind of energy. Tippy still pushed on and would work on smaller projects. And she also had a kid. And she was divorced. Oh, her kid? Just a little lady called Melanie Griffith. Oh yeah. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know much about Melanie Griffith. And I couldn't recognize her before this movie. But I know her name. Kind of funny. Because with her mom Tippy, it's like the other way around. Like, I can recognize her mom, but I didn't know her mom's name. And Melanie Griffith, I knew her name, but I couldn't recognize her. Yeah, hard-hitting stuff here, folks. This is what you came here for, this kind of entertainment. All right, so Tippy has literally escaped Hitchcock, and she is still kicking around Hollywood. Oh, and another thing about Tippy, there's also documentaries about this as well. Tippy, this is a cool, happy thing, though. So Tippy lent a beautifully manicured hand in helping build the Vietnamese nail salon industry here in America. Yeah, dude. That is another big story that's pretty cool to learn about. I actually already knew that, you know, thanks to the Not So Pretty documentary on Max. You can learn a lot about it there. But anyway, we're talking about Roar here, folks. Okay, so Tippy, amazing actress, beautiful, humanitarian, and a Holly-weird survivor. Oh, and a single mom. Of course, though, when it comes to Tippy, a catch like Tippy doesn't stay single for long. She and Noel Marshall get married in 1964. So now let me talk a little bit about Noel, the troll Marshall. Okay, so Noel Marshall. I'm just going to give you like a quick little blip about him, just who he was pre-Tippy. So Noel Marshall wasn't just Tippi Hedren's husband. He was also her manager and her agent. Remember when I said fire your agent earlier? Still applies. So, Noel Marshall, he moved to LA in his 20s to chase his dreams of being in the biz somehow. And he gets there to LA and he's like investing in everything. And eventually that tactic of like investing in everything gets him all the way to making himself some sort of like executive on The Exorcist. Okay? He wasn't involved in the creative stuff, but he invested in it, so he gets money back from it. Okay? So Noel, he goes from investing and executing and executing? Executing? I don't care. So, whatever. Noel marries his first wife, who is not Tippy. So, Noel and his first wife, they both start up a talent agency. And thus, Noel, he becomes Tippy's manager and agent. Oh, and some showbiz stuff. The agent sends you your work that you're qualified for and that has the right pay. And then once you get the job, they negotiate all of the paperwork for you. And the manager more or less like helps you with getting your name out there, talks you up at parties, gives you notes about your stage persona and even your name. You know, like both jobs take a cut of your pay. But yeah, that's just the difference between the two. So Noel and Tippy, they get married in 1962. Tippy has a daughter, Melanie Griffith, from a past marriage. And she had Melanie during that whole Hitchcock thing. Like Hitchcock would even be like, oh, you don't want to break your contract, do you? What about your little girl? And Melanie is like, you're stealing my mom from me. When she's with you, I never see her, so whatever. Anyway, so Noel, he has about 3 kids, okay? So we got Melanie and we got 3 boys. So we're a big happy family, right? We'll get into it. Don't you worry. So I looked up pictures of Noel, and as usual, you know, He's an average, older looking man with a young, gorgeous, delightful lady as a wife. And Tippy looks way younger than him, and she's only a year younger than him. But, hey. So when I'm looking at pictures of this guy, like, I'm seeing like an all-American guy with slicked back hair, tweed suit, wooden pipe, and his famous wife. And then I remember him from the movie. And in the movie, he looks like a wild man. Like he's skinny and scrawny, and he has a grown out, like dusty blonde hair, and he has like this bushy, scraggly facial hair, and he could not act to save his life. Like literally could not act to save his life. And he spent the whole movie like screaming, jumping up and down, and bleeding. A lot of bleeding. So to continue talking about Noel, I have to continue talking about production because, wow, that is where he gets his fucking reputation, and it is not a good one. So let's just do it. Let's just get into production. So Tippy and Noel, they see this house out in Africa covered in lions, and they're both like, oh my God, what if we make a cute little movie about this? Look at these cute little lions taking over this house. And the lions were like laying on the roof of this house, flopping in the front yard, peeking out of windows, acting like big old kitty cats and being cute. So in 1970, Noel Marshall finished the script for Roar, okay? And the script was supposed to have this Disney squeaky clean family comedy vibe, kind of like a Beethoven, but just with like a lot of lions, real life lions. So that was the goal. They wanted to make a movie that was so lovable that it will make a huge impact and educate the masses about endangered animals and poaching. And I will say, that is a really sweet idea because it wasn't just that lion-covered house in Africa that ignited this inspiration. Tippy and Noel learned a lot about the wildlife out in Africa. And I know this had a huge effect on Tippy. That Africa trip, it changed Tippy's life literally forever. And it started her life's long work in animal advocacy. Angel. Noel, well, the trip. Okay, so for him, the trip. He almost killed his children and his entire family. So the script. So the script is done, right? We got the script done. So now Tippy and Noel need to find their leading stars, the lions. So in order to cast lions in your next movie, please take notes. I'm looking around the room and I see a lot of people not taking notes. I'm giving some valuable information here. Please take notes. So, if you want lions in your next movie and you're in the 70s, you have to go to an animal handler or a trainer. You hire the handler and the handler brings the animals. You hopefully sign some super important paperwork. You listen to the safety spiel from the handler and action. Right? You got yourself an animal movie with real live animals. Remember Candyman? They had to get a handler to bring out those bees for the movie. Same deal. Well, Tippy and Noel, they were getting a lot of hell no's to their little idea from these trainers. The trainers refused to work on the project because Tippy and Noel wanted a lot of lions. They wanted to use a shit ton of lions, like over 10 lions on the same set. And the trainers were like against it because having that many lions in one spot can make fights inevitable. And you need at least 2 trainers per animal. So after getting no... Are you okay? He watched Roar, and I swear to God, he's like just full of ideas now. So after getting no, after no, after no, after hell no, and there was also drama about getting that many handlers and trainers on set without the trainers and the handlers breaking out into fights. I'm imagining some Tiger King drama. So after all the rejection, a handler suggested that Noel and Tippy get their own big cats and start raising them themselves for their own movie. So Noel and Tippy were like, that's a great idea. And they just started to raise lion cubs in their own home. So these lions are like running around the house and they're sleeping in the couple's bed. It's very domestic and very illegal. Yeah, the couple lived in Santa Monica with their kids and all of their lions in the same house. After some complaints from the neighbors and some legal pressure, the family moved. So they settled in a newer, bigger house with a shit ton of land out in Acton, California. I think that's what it's called. People in California will know, but I'm not in California, so I don't. So we have Tippi Hedren, Noel Marshall, and their 3 teens and a bunch of lions in this new house with a lot of land. Okay? The family lives in this situation for about 5-ish years before production started. And during this time, Tippi thought that raising the lions alongside the children was a good idea because it could cut down on injuries when it came time to shoot because the lions would be used to the children and vice versa. And I really want to lock something in right now. In regards to Tippi, she is a very, very, very intelligent person and has experienced a lot in her long, wild life. When she was under Hitchcock's control, she made sure to learn about the business, and she said she gained a lifetime of film experience in those 3 years that would have taken her maybe like 12-ish, 13-ish years to do. And, I believe it. She knew about the industry's ins and outs, and that knowledge is probably what helped set up all that was needed to produce this bad boy. And she knew a lot about organizing charities and stuff because she's also done a lot of like humanitarian work and volunteer work around the world at this point. And now she is just sinking her tippy teeth into wildlife preservation. But then she has this wild flip side to her where she makes huge, adventurous, and thrilling choices that maybe aren't that conventional, like allowing lions to grow up in the same house as your kids. Noel Marshall, on the other hand, seems like an opportunist who hops into things full force if he thinks it means success and big bucks. And I will say, I was not able to find interviews with Noel because he died in 2010 and this film started gaining traction in 2015, so I only know about his character through crew members, family members, and his very small wiki page. I don't know, I just wanted to mention these 2 polar opposites that have the same goal. Like Tippi is all about animals, she's all about learning and spreading awareness, raising money and saving, and she's very passionate about that. And Noel is very passionate about collecting things that are powerful, like lions, money, jobs, going to Hollywood, fame. It's very 2 different people and they're working on the same project and they say that they have the same goal. And I just wanted to point this out because this entire time we're all going to be thinking, how? How does this happen? How does the most dangerous film get made in the backyard of a Hollywood family and it stars said Hollywood family? How does it happen? Well, you take a little bit of Tippi and you take a little bit of Noel Marshall and then you put them in Africa and then they see some lions and then you bring them back to America and you give them a lot of money and then the kids, this is how it happens. I think Tippi brought in the drive, the credibility, the heart, and the purpose. And I think Noel brought the urgency, the danger, and chaos. And then the kids, they volunteered. Of course, the parents should have been like, no, but in this case, the kids did volunteer. But so the kids volunteered, and Tippi and Noel said, sure. So at this point, the family is entering into the production stages of Roar with a few years of amateur domestic wildlife care experience under their belt, and then they start to collect and grow their animal family. The family ultimately, they gathered up to 71 lions, 26 tigers, a tigon, which is a tiger and a dragon. It's a tiger and a lion. It took me a second to think. 9 Black Panthers, 10 cougars, 2 jaguars, 4 leopards, 2 elephants, 6 black swans, 4 Canada geese, 4 cranes, 2 peacocks, 7 flamingos, and a marabou stork, and a partridge in a pear tree. Just kidding. The only animal that they actually turned down to own was a hippopotamus. That is too far. A hippopotamus? Who do you think we are? A zoo? Oh. The family worked hard to turn their home into a home/zoo/film set/production studio. The family planted numerous trees to help the California desert terrain look more like Africa. And I'm not gonna lie, they did a good job. And I was totally sold that this was shot in Africa and not in their backyard. And I'm saying backyard in jest because this place was huge. And I will say that there are some shots done in Africa. Like there's this opening scene where Noel Marshall is riding on a dirt bike right next to a bull giraffe just out in the savannah. Back to California, back to Acton, California. They made a miniature studio, editing rooms, a kitchen for the crew, animal hospital, elephant barn, and a 10,000-pound freezer, actually freezers, excuse me, that's more than one freezer, to store the meat needed to feed the lions. And when production started, cost of the crew and feeding the cats was like $4,000 a week. $4,000 a week. So at the beginning of production, they knew they needed money, so Noel was getting investments from outside the US. I think they were able to get about $3 million, but then because things just kept getting more and more and more and more expensive, $4,000 a week, the family actually ended up having to sell all of their houses except for, the one in Acton. They had 4 other houses, I guess one for every season. I don't know. Well, they had to sell all of those houses. And then Noel, he even sold Tippy's fur coat that was a gift from Hitchcock. And I doubt Tippy would even want a fur coat anymore after learning about, animals, and it's a gift from Hitchcock. So yeah, get that shit out of here. And Noel, he even drained all of his money from The Exorcist to help fund the movie. So The Exorcist helped fund Roar. And a lot of crew members were joking and saying that The Exorcist money used for the movie brought the Exorcist curse onto the set of Roar. And in my personal opinion, everybody, I think the set was just overran by lions. I think that's where the chaos was coming from. And speaking of the crew, the movie could only use non-union workers, except for the cinematographer, and we'll get to that. Production could only hire non-union because they could not afford the union rates. And they knew that the unions would disagree with their production. Non-union work is really crazy and really dark sometimes. Honestly, most of the time. It's always a freaking circus. Crew members would repeatedly walk out en masse on set, and they would walk out because lions were indeed attacking people and sending crew and cast to the hospital almost daily. And Noel Marshall was also a raging, reckless, and abusive director, father, and husband. Ew! Get it together, Noel. Get your shit together. Jesus. So because the crew was severely limited, Noel's son, John Marshall, took on a lot of responsibility on set. And I want you to go ahead and just memorize John Marshall's name right now. John Marshall. We're going to be talking about John Marshall a lot. So, John Marshall was in the movie as one of the sons. John Marshall is also the real-life oldest son of Noel Marshall. Okay. And John Marshall is the only family member that agreed to partake in the film's re-release in 2015. And he has stories to tell. Thanks, John. John shares memories from being on set and what it was like during production. And it sounds like a Netflix documentary is needed. Like a limited series is needed, for sure. John will retell these Roar stories with pride and a smile on his face. But it's like he's more proud of surviving it rather than being proud of, like, living it, you know? So, he even said that his dad, Noel Marshall, even struck him in front of cast and crew. But that literally does not stop John from standing up to Noel. Because it's like, what, you're going to slap me? You raised me with tigers. And John was basically the only one who would save Noel when he was getting attacked by lions. Noel Marshall would not allow anyone to help him when he was getting attacked. He would take that as an insult. He doesn't need to be saved. I wasn't in any danger, he would scream out. You know, he's the Lion Master. I don't think he called himself the Lion Master, but I can't promise that he didn't. He would literally yell at people for helping him. He would yell at people for saving his life. But John wasn't afraid of being yelled at or pulling his father out from under a pile of lions. No, seriously. John, he has a story about Noel, like about how his dad was like being drug around set by the neck by a lion. John would also share that he would try to be in shots or near Tippi and Melanie Griffith because he helped them feel more safe. And they told him that. Probably because John would actually jump in and help them with the lions. Unlike who? Noel. He did nothing. Noel, he would just not call cut when the cast, his family, were being attacked and calling out for help. Yeah, Noel just sat there behind the camera and just kept rolling while scalps were getting ripped, faces were getting slashed, and people were getting bitten by lions, tigers, jaguars, elephants. Like, do something. I also found a crazy quote from John about his dad and being on set. So the quote is, "I would try to be in the scenes with Tippi and Melanie because they felt better when I was nearby. We grouped together as a family. Not that we thought Dad was really trying to kill us, but it really seemed like he was out for us for some reason." Noel sucks. John does not. I don't know much about Noel, to be honest. I think he sucks. And those lions beat his ass. He literally bled through the whole damn movie. So, filming, right? Filming. The script. 150 lions, tigers, jaguars, and all that. So, how did all these things mix? You guessed it, horribly. It was horrible. So, in regards to filming, the cinematographer Jan de Bont spent hours and hours setting up 5 to 8 cameras around the property and had to shoot this movie documentary style because the animals were not trained, darlings. They were only domestically owned. Sure, they might have known a trick here and there, but they didn't really know any tricks. So everyone kind of had to like hang around until the animals did something that could be interesting enough to be put into the story. And because of this, Noel Marshall, he said something like, if you get tackled and attacked during a shot, make sure you say something intelligent because we can't do retakes. So not only do you need to fight for your life, but you need to make sure you get your angles and improv like you're Marlon Brando. Okay. Speaking of the cinematographer, Jan de Bont, some of y'all might recognize that name, and yeah, I am talking about him, Jan de Bont. He's the cinematographer of this film. And a cinematographer is the person in charge of working with the director to get the perfect shot. Those awesome movie vibes and angles, yeah, that's cinematography, baby. Like The Shining is a good example of pretty cinematography. Did you like The Shining? Oh, I thought you did. Yeah. So Jan de Bont is actually a pretty well-known name in the biz. He wasn't a big shot at the time of Roar, but Jan de Bont is the director of Twister and Speed. And he's also the cinematographer of Die Hard, Cujo, Hunt for Red October, just to name a few. And honestly, I find it a little interesting that these are like action-packed films, and Roar was one of his first projects. Interesting. And Jan de Bont, Jan, He wasn't like all those other crew members who were like very aware of danger. Jan saw Roar out to the end. He stayed on production from beginning to end and left with one of the biggest injuries. So Jan de Bont was scalped by a lion. And this next part is gross, okay? It's gross. So I don't know, cover your ears for like 10 seconds if you're squeamish, okay? Starting now. So the oldest son, John, you remember John? John said that when de Bont's scalp was ripped, he flopped it back onto his skull like a toupee that was only glued down in the front. That's really gross. Yikes. 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 Okay, you can uncover your ears. So after John helped de Bont and sent him off to the hospital, he was making calls for his replacement because John thought de Bont was a goner. I don't know if he meant that in like a de Bont is gonna quit kind of way or a de Bont is gonna die kind of way. De Bont didn't die. Wow! In fact, he didn't die, and he came back to set 50 stitches later, and he continued the film. And don't let capitalism hear this story. That is a corporate manager's dream employee, okay? Oh, you almost died on the job. See you tomorrow, or find your own replacement. Unions are great. I rewatched this movie again. I did. I know. I should have asked my doctor first before putting my heart through that again. But Jan de Bont, he actually got some really cool shots that we're probably never going to see again because this movie is so dangerous. So he gets like really cool shots of like, you know, those big cats, they're chasing the motorcycle, male lions like falling asleep on the chest of one of the sons. The lions and tigers, you know, there was a lot of footage in there of them being cute and silly. I will admit that. And we also get like underwater barrel shots, that elephant tearing apart the boat, and then it gets like really pissy and like donkey kicks a part of the boat. That always makes me laugh. Oh, and then the elephant. Okay, so there's also another cool shot. I think it's a continuous shot. You know when everyone's like on top of the roof and they're like jumping in these water barrels to hide from the lions. And then, you know, the lions like push the barrels off of the flat roof into like the water, right? So we get a shot coming from inside the barrel. The barrel is like spinning off the roof. So, you know, we get that POV. And then the barrel launches into the air and it's spinning really fast. And then it crashes into the water. And the camera is pointing right at an elephant. And then the elephant's tusk just goes through the barrel with the camera in it and starts throwing it around. I think that was all one continuous shot. And I was like, holy shit, that was really good. That was really good. De Bont did very, very good. He's obviously very talented, very driven, and hard to scare. So back to that little pissy elephant. That was another very dangerous scene. So in that elephant scene, right, where the mother and the kids, they're like trying to get away from the house and the boat gets like taken over by an elephant, you know, the elephant grabs the Tippi Hedren and holds her upside down by the ankles, right? And then still holding her legs, he flips her like on top of his head and then he starts flinging her like all over the place. That was the scene. I don't think the elephant actually like held her upside down by her ankles like we saw in the movie because we don't really see the elephant in that shot. But the elephant definitely flung her around like a rag doll in this shot. And that is in the movie, right? And towards the end of the Tippi thrashing, you can kind of see her broken leg. Yeah, you can kind of see it flop all over the place. Like her shin is like a little wiggly. Oh, I should have told you to cover your ears. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so she breaks her leg during that, and then the elephant like literally throws her into the water, and then Tippi runs through the water with a broken leg, and her leg was fractured, and she also had scalp wounds, and she got 38 stitches from that scene because, you know, she was attacked by an elephant. We also, along with unions, we really love and support stunt actors. We love you. Thank you. Thank you for your work. But I'm going to be real. Along with de Bont, Tippi, she said she was a tough cookie. And I think this entire movie reflects that. The Hitchcock's stuff aside, even. Like, this movie, like, is living proof that she is tough as shit. And also keep in mind that she's also an incredible actress. Like, she loved these animals. She loved them. But in the movie, she was literally acting like she was afraid for her life, and I bought it. I bought every second. And she loves these animals so much that she doesn't even really fault the animals for her injuries, because they're animals. She was like, oh, the elephant, he accidentally broke my leg because during the flailing, he thought I was falling and he tried to catch me. And I was like, honestly, that does make a lot of sense because we probably saw the worst side of these animals, right? Because unbeknownst to them, their family, their human family is like all of a sudden acting crazy and weird. And then there's like all these cameras and people here with all this stuff and all this shit's just being so weird. What's going on? So of course, like the animals were like freaking out and they were probably looking at Tippy like, Mama? But like Tippy's over here like screaming and running away from them. It was probably like really weird for them. I'm going to guarantee it was probably really weird for the animals too. But anyway, so Tippy, tough as nails Tippy? Yeah, Tippy had a huge problem with Noel throughout all of this. Oh, you don't say. Yeah, Noel had, like, Tippy was not really liking Noel during this. So not only was Noel acting dangerously prideful when it comes to getting help when he was getting attacked, he ignored his children's cries for help when they were getting attacked over and over and over again. And he's also ignored Tippy's daughter, Melanie. He ignored her cries for help, ultimately hospitalizing Melanie Griffith. Yeah. He got Tippy's daughter hospitalized. So no, Tippy's not gonna like you, right? But she also, like, held it the fuck together. We're gonna get into it. So Melanie Griffith, she had a lot of issues with filming, obviously. Melanie would talk to Noel about her anxiety with working on this movie, and he would tell her to, like, shut up and suck it up, and he was being a big old dickhead about it. And, he ignores her concerns to the point to where, like, Melanie Griffith was going to John to see if John could talk to Noel. Noel still ignored it. And then, all of a sudden, Melanie Griffith gets her face clawed and she's hospitalized. So, Melanie Griffith's attack, her attack and her injuries are also in the movie. It made the final cut. So in the movie, Melanie and Tippy are in the kitchen as the lions are like overtaking the house because the windows and the doors were left open. And Melanie is on the ground underneath a lion that is young, but still about 2 to 3 times her size. And she is lying on the floor. For the most part, she's like on her stomach, but the lion's also just like flipping her around and stuff. And she is petrified and she's calling out for help. And it's real. And Tippy is also trying to help her. You can see Tippy trying to pull on the lion's tail to get her off. Like, it's... So on set, everyone had a safe word. And the safe word was used to communicate that you needed help and that filming would stop and help would be given, right? Safe word. I think we all understand what safe words mean. Safe words are used everywhere, right? So Melanie was calling out for help. She was using her safe word. And of course we don't hear it in the film because it was probably like edited out. But Noel just kept filming and right in front of Tippy. Right in front of Tippy. And he's doing nothing. So, in the movie, the lion, he is lying on the back of Melanie. Melanie is on her stomach laying on the ground, and the lion is lying on top of her. And the lion bites the back of Melanie's hair. Doesn't have skin in his mouth, but he has a chunk of her hair. And he pulls, and he's pulling on it. And Melanie, she just gives out this angry, scared, fed up, no, right? And then the lion let go. It could have scalped her too, or even broken her neck because the lion was sitting on her back. And then after that, Melanie turns away from the camera and her face gets clawed. Full lion's paw to the face. And eventually, Tippy and Melanie start screaming for John. And guess who comes and saves Melanie? John. John comes in and he saves Melanie. He literally gets on the ground, and like almost switches spots with Melanie. Like he like got on the ground and he like scooted her out from underneath the lion, and he like distracted the lion and got underneath the lion. Yeah, so John is under this lion that was attacking Melanie, and then like 4 or 5 other lions like pile on top of the lion that's on top of John, and John is like using all of his might to get back up, and he does somehow. And you know, like what if John wasn't there, everyone? What if John wasn't there? This is going to get dark really quick. This is going to turn into a true crime podcast once again. I think Noel would have killed everyone. And it would have gotten bad and dark really quick, right? I mean, let's just think about it. American true crime, Hollywood true crime. That shit's crazy. And my true crime brain says that the lions would have ended up killing Tippy or Melanie. It would have been one of the two, or even like maybe like a crew member or something. And like to cover up the killings, you know, I feel like Noel would have killed like all the witnesses, destroyed the evidence, or he might have even kept the evidence somewhere if he couldn't part with it, because it seems like he cared more about this movie than he did humans or animals. And then I think Noel would be like, oh, Melanie and Tippy, they were kidnapped or they were missing or something, you know what I mean? And because it's the 70s, he probably would have gotten away with it. I'm just saying. Yeah, but you know, the fact that this movie and everyone who made it survived is a biblical miracle. So, Melanie's face during that scene, it gets clawed like pretty bad. And she almost lost her eye, and she ended up getting like reconstructive surgery. Yeah. And she was about like in her 20s, I think, when she filmed this. So her like career was just getting started. Besides her health, you know, there's like the added stress of like, is your career over? But you know what? They did great work in the 70s, and she was beautiful. She looked beautiful, and you would never know that she got attacked by a lion in her 20s. You can't tell. You know what? Since we're already talking about injuries, over 70 of the cast and crew were hurt, and here are some of their stories, or reports technically. And I'm going to read a list, and we love lists around here. So, John, you know John. A lion jumped on him and had John's head in its mouth. And it took over 6 full-grown men to get the lion off of him. And that ended up hospitalizing John, right? And so John's in the hospital. He was attacked by a lion. 6 men had to get the lion off of him. And Noel, he goes back to shooting 2 days later. Like, you know, you'd think that would be enough to get him to stop. His wife getting broken legs and stitches. And then, you know, Melanie gets sent to the hospital. John gets sent to the hospital. When are you going to call this off? Never. So Jerry Marshall, he was the other Marshall son. He was the younger one. He was bitten by a lion, and he was hospitalized right alongside Hedren for about a month. The assistant director, Doran Copper, accidentally cued an attack from the blood-soaked Togar and almost had his ear ripped off and received injuries to his scalp, chest, and thigh, and he was hospitalized and needed a 4.5-hour surgery. And let's talk about Noel, huh? Let's talk about the lion tamer himself, the lion whisperer himself, Noel. So Noel, those animals fucked his shit up. Noel was actually attacked so many times that he was diagnosed with gangrene and blood poisoning. And gangrene is not characters from Powerpuff Girls. Gangrene is basically an infection that makes your body rot, like your skin and all those tissues, like they turn midnight black. Like your limbs will shrivel up, and the tissue, it dies. Like your toes, for example, those are popular amongst the gangrene amputations. Toes, you know, they'll just die without you. It's really bad. Gangrene is really bad. Like it'll make your shit look like a 14,000-year-old mummy. Oh, and another person to get gangrene is Tippy. Tippy Hedren was also diagnosed with that as well. Tippy, she was also scratched by a leopard, bitten on the chest by a cougar, and was bitten in the head by a lion named Cherries during a promotional shoot. Couldn't say that word. Oh, and Noel, he was bitten on the hand. He was bitten through the hand. And doctors thought that Noel was like going to lose his arm. Noel was bitten around 11 times, and it sounds like every single bite was very dramatic. Okay, remember he was drugged around on set by his neck? So, all of these injuries and hospitalizations caused a lot of setbacks with production. But wait, there's more. Mother Nature had some hell in store for the Roar team herself. Over $3 million of damage was done to the property due to a dam breaking and submerging the property and covering it in soot, while also raising the water levels about 6 feet on the property. So we have a flood that brought in soot and covered everything in soot. The house had to be remade and rebuilt. Then after that, we had 2 wildfires that burnt a lot of things, burnt down all those trees that they grew. They had to replant those. It was a mess. During these disasters, 3 lions were shot and killed by police because they broke out of their enclosures and were running loose around town. I know, super sad actually, but that would have happened regardless if the movie was done or not, so technically no animals were harmed because of the making, And it could be argued that the lions were there to shoot the movie, but I feel like the lions would have been there regardless. I just feel like even if they couldn't make the movie, the lions would still be there. And one of the lions that was killed was Robbie. Yeah, the hero lion that acted like a puppy the whole time. God, he was so sweet. Cops ruin everything. So that is basically a day in the life of someone on the set of Roar. Let's see how this all panned out after the movie was finally released in 1981. Okay, so they made this fucking movie. The shoot was supposed to take less than a year, and it started with a $3 million budget. Well, with all of the setbacks, the movie took 11 years to make, and it cost about $17 million. And that is not including the hospital bills. So, it's 1981, and Roar is ready for the world. The movie was not released in the US because Tippi Hedren said that the US theaters wanted to take the money that was intended for the lions. So, it was a money issue. But it was able to open up in Japan, Germany, and a few other countries here and there. But it gained most of its revenue in Germany and Japan. So the movie was advertised in Germany as a cute family movie, and it was advertised as a thrilling, dangerous catastrophe in Japan. And Japan sold more tickets. So the movie brought in a very low $2 million box office. Later, Tippi Hedren would partake in opening up wildlife organizations like the Roar Foundation and the Shambhala Preserve Sanctuary, where the cats from Roar were taken after filming. And best of all, after Roar in 1982, Tippi Hedren divorces Noel Marshall. Yeah! Yes! Congratulations on that divorce, baby. He deserved it. Oh, and not only did she get a divorce from him, she got a restraining order on his ass. His behavior never simmered down after filming, and he was becoming very aggressive, quote unquote, when they fought. So Tippi, she got that divorce and a restraining order that stated that Noel could not physically abuse her or come within 20 feet of their home, and Noel had to seek psychiatric care. My mouth is wide open. Get the fuck out of here, Noel. And don't mess with Tippi. Seems like she has a high threshold for extreme shit, but when she's had enough, she's gonna bring a stop to the dramatics and move on with her life. I respect that. She's a little cuckoo, but I still respect it. And Melanie Griffith and Jerry and John Marshall survived, thank God. They survived this shoot and they moved on to bigger and better things. Oh, and another thing, I didn't know Melanie Griffith was the mom of 50 Shades of Grey, Dakota Johnson. I didn't fucking know that. Wowza. What a lineage, hey. So Noel, after Roar, he ended up going on to produce another movie that I don't recognize, and then he quit showbiz in the 80s, and he moved into marketing for some health insurance thing in Florida. Noel goes where the money goes, proving my point that he's an opportunist. And then he ended up passing away from cancer, which is shit, and I'm sorry to hear that. And Tippy and John, they look back on this memory of Roar, and I think they look back on it with very, like, one eye is rosy and one eye is way too crystal clear. Like, they understand the abuse of it all, but they also take that experience and they kind of re-own it for themselves somehow. And yeah, the kids say that they have PTSD from working on that movie. John says that he still has PTSD from filming that movie. Tippi Hedren, as far as I know, she is still with us and living in a house full of cheetah print and leopard print, and she's doing her damn thing with the animal reserves. Melanie Griffith, doing great, love it. You know, everyone's doing well. Oh, and in 2015, Alamo Drafthouse ends up gaining the rights to the movie via one of the kids, and Alamo Drafthouse has brought Roar back to the public, and it's back in theaters from time to time. And I've heard that this is one hell of a movie to see in a theater and to see with an audience. And the first chance that I get to watch Roar with an audience, I'm pouncing on it. Yeah. But it's cool. They brought it back in 2015, and it's actually being in theaters in the US for the first time, and it's creating like a whole new cult following for it. And it's probably the reason I was able to get my hands on it via YouTube. And this movie is shown at festivals from time to time. I even heard that it made it into a horror festival, which is right where I think it belongs. So let's go ahead and wrap this bad boy up. Well, that's a wrap on this week's episode on Roar. Wait, hold on. Did I get everything? Did I get everything? Scalp removal, restraining order, Hitchcock, Melanie Griffith, John, Noel, John. Okay. Oh wait, no. So the movie, sorry, just a few little tidbits here and there. So the movie had a working title while they were working on it, and it was called Lions, Lions, and More Lions. And I just. So they weren't even like working on a movie with like a cool name yet. So it's like lame. And Noel was apparently really inspired by slapstick comedy when he was writing the script. And I think he just likes chaos and suffering on screen. Oh, and there were additional script add-ons by Ted Cassidy. You know, Lurch from Addams Family. Okay, if you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it a million times. No animals were technically harmed in this movie. So anytime you saw an animal that's like covered in blood or is dealing with blood, whatever, that is fake blood, right? When you see the humans bleed, right, that's real. So all the human blood in this movie is real, except for the 3 guys in the boat and the poachers. So that boat scene was so bloody. Like, you know, when like all those people come up and then the lions attack a few people and then like these 3 guys are just covered in blood and the lions like chase them out onto land and then start getting into fights with these 3 guys. That scene was so bloody. I don't know why. Because this is a family film and I don't know why they use so much fake blood. But it was fake. And those 3 guys, they were actually handlers. So that actually explains a lot from that scene. And that's a wrap on this week's episode. Awesome. Great. Slamming down my notebook. I'm done. Woo! What a fucking start to this wild month of animals. Oh, God. I need a nap, some water, Neosporin, and a good divorce lawyer after that one. Jeez Louise. See what I mean when I explained where we were going to explore this month when I said wild animals? These cats took over production. There was a wild man on set. Tippy is tough as nails, and Melanie Griffith looks great. Good God. Well, next week is a little less exhausting. In fact, I have a few little tricks up my sleeve. It's a cat. Oh, no, it's something you won't believe. So what movie will I be diving into next? Not even I know. Let's find out together next Monday when I take on some movie that is related to this month's theme. All right, I'll see you there. Okay, bye.